Hmm. Hi, everybody, on a Sunday afternoon. Hope you had a good weekend. Been a couple of days since I've chatted with you. The update gets us going with some really quiet weather this week, and I'll get into our dry time coming up. But I want to begin with an update on this cold weather shift pattern. Is it going to happen? If so, when? Or are we going to lose it? And we're going to continue to be mild. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill coming to you from the Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington area. And on the left, is the European model. On the right, the American GFS model. I think it's safe to say these are the two models most referenced and most mentioned by forecasters. And, I do outlook forecasting on a 30-day basis and some days, or once a month, 90-day basis. And you don't find the two models absolutely perfectly identical that often. But in terms of what they're showing today for the coming 30 days, which will be through the 12th day of February, they are identical. So I've highlighted the polar jet, which if you're going to get into a cold weather pattern with a lot of systems dumping snow at 2,000 feet and a more reasonable chance to get some snow here in the Willamette Valley, then you need to get the polar jet stream. Not always, but often you need to get it south of your area. Well, the model anomaly, and there can be fluctuations, but the anomaly for the coming 30 days now has the polar jet stream well up into Canada, north of Washington on the Euro model, same on the American model. And in fact, if you look at the 500 millibar pressure indices, both models are identical at a 561 pressure height. That's pretty mild, actually, for this time of the year. And notice if you trace the contours, they both show a zonal to a slight ridge where the models ridge over the northwest. Same thing on the American GFS model. They both show a continued cold trough dipping down across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the northeastern United States into the mid Atlantic. This is the exact pattern that we've had going well back to the month of December. So this is my way of telling you that what was looking promising to the point that I was talking about it, to the point that the National Weather Service outlooks were showing it, and other meteorologists were talking about it, is starting not to look promising at all. And that is, we may not have a significant shift to any prolonged cold weather pattern. Now, let me go ahead and show you the temperature data that goes along with the two models I just showed you. Again, these are 30-day anomalies out through the 12th day of February. So the European has in blue, they like the Pacific Northwest, the European model being a degree to 2 degrees colder than normal, which would be a pretty good shift from what we're seeing, but not as cold as what I had been seeing a couple of weeks ago when I started to talk about this. Now, the American GFS model, despite the fact that they both have identical upper flow pattern anomalies, likes the much of Oregon being above normal. And it shows Portland, Seattle, down in Eugene, here on the west side of Oregon and Washington, basically with a normal temperature. Both models agree that the cold trough, the best bet for widespread cold temperatures in terms of colder than normal, continues to be across the eastern US. The European shows that, and the GFS model shows that. And the Euro actually shows some warm air, warmer than normal air across Canada. The GFS is closer to normal, but neither show what I would call cold air pooling to our north. So if this change in what the models are projecting holds true, all of a sudden we're into mid-February, and then the chances of having a significant snow event in Portland and or Seattle really starts to become slight because by the time you come to March, that ship has basically sailed. And now this outlook takes us to only about 2 weeks left of meteorological winter. So that is your update. I made a big deal of a cold weather pattern shift because for a couple weeks I was following that. More and more of the models were on board, but now as I've watched this for the last 5 days to a week, more and more of the models are saying no, it's not going to happen. All right, all of this is brought to you by the Momentous Wealth Podcast. Listen on Apple Podcasts, listen on Spotify. These are investment topics you can select meant to educate you from local firm Momentous Wealth Management, licensed in Oregon, Washington. I think they're licensed down in Arizona as well. How about that? Okay, well, not a bad Sunday. There are a few showers on the radar. We've had a little bit of rain out there. Overall, today in many areas of Western Oregon, especially, have been drier than we were on Saturday. The live camera network that I have, 19 properties strong, shows partly cloudy skies, North Coast, Depot Bay, Central Coast, out in the Gorge and River getting some sunshine, cloudiness in wine country. You can see there, Willamette Valley Vineyards. Camas Meadows, the snow in Sun River just about gone from the back of the resort. They've had snow on the ground for a while, but that's about gone. A little break in the cloud cover along the Columbia River, looking off to the west from Pearson Airfield. Pretty shadows in Hood River. Cloud cover over in the Warm Springs area from Canita Hot Springs Resort. Let's see if they've got people. Yeah, there's some people. These are natural hot thermal springs, by the way. I think the water temperature in one of these is like 104, 106, something like that. Pretty nice. They're dry, but they have cloud cover over there. Okay. Up on the mountain, they had a couple inches of snow yesterday during the day. I think it's been more like flurries today. Timberline 25, Meadows 31, Ski Bowl 27. Government Camp's got a mix of some snow that's collected on the camera lens where they've had some light snow shower activity, 30 degrees. But the passes generally are in good shape. There's Santiam, there's Willamette, Cabbage Hill out over 84. Very little snow roadside. Siskiyou Summit's foggy but dry. Coast Range, of course, no problems. So with a dry forecast, the chance of any showers ending tonight and a dry forecast through at least Wednesday, mountain passes are clean right now. They will continue to be clean, and we won't really have any issues. My Mount Hood page brought to you by Hillcrest Ski and Sports Shop in Gresham in the Portland area. You can rent gear and you can purchase gear for all of your mountain recreational needs. Okay, there's a few showers now down over McMinnville and Salem. The rain chance becomes completely zero tonight. Weak high pressure is trying to build in. And then if you look at the 500 millibar current flow, see the isobar, see the ridging here offshore. It's this northwesterly flow that produced the showers we had yesterday, more than I thought. I mean, honestly, my weekend forecast kind of sucked because I just didn't think we'd have the rain that we had yesterday. See the little indentation right here, little dip? That's an upper level disturbance. And on paper, it looks to be a pretty good one. So that's going to be producing at least a shower threat as we go into the evening, but it looks like it's going to be mostly east of the Cascades at this point, and satellite's not really showing much development with that. But at any rate, all this passes, this ridging, which is now centered offshore, starts to build inland, and the weather systems hold off, and we go on a dry run at least through the day, Wednesday into Wednesday night. So that will bring us back to some freezing nights. So that's probably one of the big headlines Monday night into Tuesday into Wednesday. So let's check out and see what temperatures. I'm not expecting anybody to get just really cold, but there will be potentially widespread freezing temperatures starting tonight into Monday morning up and down I-5 and out through the gorge. Here's Hood River 32, the Dalles 31, Seattle 33, 32, 34, Portland 32, 33, and then around 32, 33, 34, all the way down into Eugene. Temperatures also dipping into the 30s along the coast with near freezing temperatures and maybe hitting 32 in places like Tillamook out in eastern Oregon, well down in the 20s. In fact, there's a 17. So some cold weather. But again, nothing. It's just like, oh my gosh, is it really frigid? More typical freezing nights expected. Now, this shows daytime temperatures tomorrow only in the low to mid 40s at most from Seattle down through the I-5 corridor. It's a light northwesterly flow pattern in the coming days. And that means if we get locked into valley fog in the morning and frosty conditions, the fog won't really have anything definite to clear it. There won't be an east wind flow bringing in dry air advection to eat it away. So it really becomes a flip of the coin. Models indicate that this base of a lot of low level saturation in the atmosphere, moisture, continues. So I wouldn't be shocked if we wake up with fog in the morning or at least low clouds and it doesn't clear. And if that's the case, then the modeling is probably right. We'll just be looking at low 40s for high temperatures. And then we get into Tuesday morning, same thing, 31, 32, 33 from Eugene all the way up in Seattle, freezing out in the gorge, mainly 20s out in the eastern areas, some 30s up and down the coast, but generally above freezing. And then daytime highs, this is going to show us about the same thing. It shows a little bit warmer weather. It's still a light northwest flow pattern on Tuesday, which could be hard for fog to clear in the valley, but models do thin out to some degree the moisture saturation. So we'll see. But that's the big question mark. how much sun are we going to get, assuming we start off with some low clouds and or fog the next several nights? And these freezing temperatures, not what I would call a hardcore freeze, but freezing temperatures continue into Wednesday morning, which you're seeing right here. Okay. So the next chance of any rain is Thursday, and that looks to be either a dab or nothing at all. Quick look at the European flow model. There's something I want to show you in the distant future. But here's the high pressure ridging, 582 high. That's strong. High pressure ridging overhead Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday. Here's Thursday. See, there's a trough passing mainly to our north. This does bring a weak surface feature in Thursday. So this far out, I'm going to say there's at least a chance of some showers. If anything, the chance of rain is probably better up in Seattle as you go northward toward where that actual trough is. But then that passes, and there's another ridge that quickly comes in for this upcoming weekend. What's interesting is the ridge that comes in this upcoming weekend. See this cold trough? There's the polar jet down into Kansas and Missouri. This is Saturday upcoming, the 18th. This does show a chute straight to the south of cold Canadian high pressure coming in that I think has a good chance to eventually start kicking east winds our way. And if that's the case, dew points will lower. And then all of a sudden, going into not this week, but the following week, we could have a stretch of dry time where some of you will get down into the at least mid 20s and maybe even low 20s at times. So there could be, not this coming week, but the following week, the chance of some real hardcore freezing temperatures at night with a dry weather pattern. Okay, so with all of that said, I just want to play this into, I think it's going to let me go into January 5th. Yeah, okay. Or excuse me, February. Here's February 4. Here's a strong low offshore. The American GFS models does not show this, but the European does. And it's fun to look at. So let's look. Here's that system on the 4th. Here it is on the 5th. Notice the blue contour. That's a polar jet. Now, the orientation of a low would bring us a westerly flow, and it would be rain for the Willamette Valley and up the I-5 corridor. But it would fuel snow levels 2,000 feet or lower, maybe some decent snow in the Coast Range. And that hangs out for a couple of days. Here it is on the 6th with really low snow levels, maybe 1,500 feet, maybe 1,200 feet, maybe even close to 1,000, some of the hills, especially north up into Washington and the Coast Range. This would not be, I think, a valley snow event in Portland, Salem, or Vancouver, but low snow levels nonetheless. And the first time I see the polar jet really diving down to our south. So we'll see. All right, let's go around the horn real quick. You're going to see a lot of sun. Yeah, here's Medford. Freezing fog to sunshine, boom, throughout the period. Coldest temperatures. Okay, here's that cold Canadian high I mentioned. And this does show 26 tomorrow morning, but then closer to 30, 32 Tuesday, Wednesday. And then look at the colder numbers next weekend. That's feeding off of a Canadian high, 24 and 24 degrees. Okay, so that matches what we talked about. Here's Bend, all dry, all sunny for the most part. And again, that cold Canadian high that starts to lower dew points could bring some frigid, hardcore, low temperatures this upcoming weekend. Bend 16, both mornings. All right, so far this is exactly what we were talking about. Here's Seattle. Even Seattle, look at this upcoming weekend, 27 in the morning, both mornings. Chance of rain Thursday, as I mentioned, is better up north than it is in Portland or Oregon. Otherwise, this is a dry forecast. And outside of any east winds that develop in the gorge, winds will be light. And I don't see any winds even in the Columbia River Gorge the next couple of days. Here's Salem, Oregon. See, by the time you get down to Oregon, the modeling not picking up on much of a rain chance at all Thursday. But just remember that's something we're watching. This basically shows dry weather. And again, the coldest numbers this upcoming weekend, 27 and 27, Saturday and Sunday mornings. Let's go Newport, all dry. Some mild temperatures. Again, these cold nights with valley fog often lead to much warmer weather at the Oregon coast. And this is showing 54 degrees on Wednesday. Let's see if North Bend shows the same thing. Yeah, there's 58 on Wednesday, 53 on Thursday. No chance of rain in southern Oregon overall is probably a safe bet. And then sunshine into the weekend. All right, Portland 7-day. So I go right around freezing, which is what the models have been showing. Monday night, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. Thursday, a little bit warmer if that little system that comes through that may or may not bring showers south of the Columbia River. And then eventually getting into some colder weather this coming Saturday. I've got us at 32. And then I've got Portland down into the upper 20s on the following Sunday and Monday to start next week. East winds start to kick during that time frame too. I don't see much wind in the coming days, as I mentioned. Well, that is your update. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It will notify you if you allow it when I post a new video. It helps me out big time. It really does. For now, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. Thanks for watching.